What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Nussbaum Autohaus. I am, of course, your host, David Nussbaum, and today we have yet another Porsche on the channel. However, it is not the 911 that you've been seeing on my previous videos. Today is actually a 718 Cayman. Now, a lot of people knock this car for being the entry-level Cayman. They're saying it's not a proper Porsche, but however, I'm here to tell you that it very much is, especially after we do some minor tweaks and modifications to the car that I'll show you in a little bit. But before I get into that, let me nerd out a bit. Let's get into some tech talk, and then I'll meet you guys on the other side. Before we get into the wheels, I'm gonna talk about the suspension first, just because I like to save the best for last. For suspension and the ride height on this Cayman, we are doing KW V3 adjustable coilovers. Now, ride height isn't the only thing that we're gonna be adjusting with this, or the only thing that this actual kit gives you adjustability on. It also gives you adjustability on the compression and the rebound. So basically, you can fine tune how you want the car to absorb the bumps that you're going over, which is the compression, and then also how it stabilizes after the fact, which is the rebound. And those things are independent of one another. So you can actually adjust it one way a little bit high, one way a little bit low. It just ultimately depends on how you want the comfortability and the ride comfort of the car to be. Very, very cool thing. These are steel body, which is used just for longevity. KW's been doing this for about 25 years. Obviously, they're made in Germany. And so they're essentially OEM quality, but with motorsport DNA in it. So I really, really dig these. They also offer height adjustable springs, but with the height adjustable springs, admittedly, sometimes it will compromise the ride quality just because you don't have the control over that compression and rebounding, which again, this is what this is. That's why they call it the V3, height, compression, and rebounding. So I always recommend, whenever you can, if you can afford it, to go with the more expensive KW V3s, and in some cases the V4s, just because you don't want to ruin the ride comfort of the car, or, you know, the last thing you would want is just to sacrifice the ride comfort just because you want the car to be a little bit lower and look better. So that's why I recommend these. Highly, highly recommend the KW V3s. Going down their product line, as I mentioned, height adjustable springs, V3s, V4s. They also have hydraulic lift systems for cars like the 2004, 2005, 2006 Ford GT, which is an extremely low car. And so people want the look, and so they have the V3 or V4s, but then they pair it with the hydraulic lift system, which will raise either the front axle, the rear axle, or both. So those are really neat things to consider in the KW portfolio. I'll move this box a little bit to the left, just because I want to start getting into the MV Forge wheels now. On the MV Forge wheels, this is going to be my very first time to actually see the wheel in person. I unboxed it just now, and it had the MV Forge clear bra on it, so I wanted to get a reaction on camera along with you guys. I've seen the sneak peek photos that they sent to me that I also forwarded to the client after they had been built. But again, this is the first time I'm seeing them in person, and it's always different, especially with the finishes. It's very hard to see or to get a really good grasp of what a finish looks like through photos or even through videos, and so in person is a telltale sign. So without further ado, let me pull this bad boy off, take a little peek. Looks nice. And here we are. So let me straighten this up so that the MV logo is straight. Carbon fiber center cap on here. Let me just go ahead and pull this off as well, so that you all can see the amount of shine that is on this gold. This is going to be a gloss polished gold finish, and the wheel model is going to be the HS21. It's from their brand new Heritage series, and you guys know me, I love wheel designs that are kind of paying homage to some of the older wheel designs from yesteryear. So this is right up that alley. HS21, this is a 3-piece wheel. They can also make it in a 2-piece and a 1-piece variation, but I think the 3-piece is always going to look the best, just because underneath this blue film that you have a lip, which is a pretty decent size for the 718 Cayman. On the lip, we did a gloss polish clear, and again, gloss polish gold on this center face, and we call this the super mesh design. It's a very vintage, old school design that a lot of cars, or race cars I should say, in the 70s used, but MV takes it to a next level. At the edge of the spoke here, you're gonna see that the assembly bolts are actually within the design of the spoke, which is something extremely neat I haven't seen that before. I don't recall seeing it before. A lot of wheel brands will have a variation of this super mesh design, but that is something that is very unique to this wheel. And the guys over at MV, I know the wheel designers, they are absolutely phenomenal. Pretty cool concept that they can come up with on this. So going back to this here, you've got the little diamonds here, and then you have the cut through here. And on the back side, the impressive CNC machining carries over. One of the telltale signs of a cheaply made wheel or a low quality wheel is the backside. And I say that because oftentimes you'll see a bunch of aluminum here without anything going on the cutting on the backside. And that basically tells you that there's very little to zero engineering on the wheel. But MV takes it a step forward and they want to do back pad pocketing, which of course brings the overall weight of this wheel down. It is a 3-piece wheel, so it's not one of the most lightweight wheels. If you want a lightweight wheel, you would go with a 1-piece monoblock wheel, but this still cuts out a significant amount of weight from the wheel. Even the small little details of the backside assembly bolts that you cannot see, they say MV forged on it. So super close, super cool, I should say. I will get a close-up view of that with the B-roll, but going on to continue on with what you see here, on the backside, they want to show a level of authenticity for their wheels. There's a lot of manufacturers now that are making wheels in other countries outside of the US, and they're basically copies of the US made wheels, and shame on you if you're buying those wheels. There is a place for them, but definitely not on a supercar, sports car, exotic car, luxury car, none of that. Going back to this, it has 20 by 11, which is the diameter and the width of this specific wheel. It says made in the USA, MV Forge logo on it, the actual order number, which I know what it is, so I make sure it's the right one before I put it on the car, and the DLT rating and the weight rating for these. It's very, very important to realize that when you're buying a set of custom built wheels that are made specifically for the car that you have, these are gonna be load rated for it. Going back to those other wheels that are not made in the USA, oftentimes they don't have the proper load rating, and what that means is the moment that you hit a pothole, a speed bump too quickly, the wheel can bend, fail, or all sorts of other stuff that's in a worst case scenario. So definitely buy American. Let's make buying American made wheels great again, because when you see the craftsmanship on something like this, the Heritage Series HS21 from MV Forge, it is absolutely phenomenal. Made in Brea, California. You can actually go to their facility. You'd actually see them doing the CNC machining, the finishing, everything is done in-house, the assembly. So very, very cool operation to see. Finally, you have the little Heritage Series bubble here, which is super cool. They have a couple different colors, red, black, silver. We chose to go with the black and silver on this to kind of go with the overall theme of the wheel, but super, super cool. I cannot wait to see it on the car. Let me stop talking so you can go ahead and do that. All right, now that you've seen the up close and personal on both the KWs and the MV Forge wheels, now you get to see the final product. So of course, the 718 Cayman, this is actually the base model, finished in the chalk exterior, and it has a two-tone chalk and black interior. But sticking out with the outside, we have the MV Forge wheels. The sizing, we went with a 20 by the 9 in the front, 20 by the 9, I don't know if that's a new thing, 20 by 9 in the front and 20 by the 11 in the rear. Tire size, we're looking at a 245 35/20 and a 295 30/20 in the rear Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. The reason why I made sure to put a little extra spicy sauce on the 295 is because when this car came from factory, it had a 265 in the rear. So essentially we're adding 30 millimeters of tire width on each rear, which is over an inch. So you're gonna get a lot better traction and a lot better handling, less oversteer, a little bit more understeer, but it'll feel a lot more in control, especially when we paired it with the KWs. Now, going back to the KWs, I mentioned earlier in the video that it has adjustments for rebound and compression. On the rebound side of things, you have 12 different clicks of settings, and on the compression side, you have 16. That may be reversed, but you guys will let me know in the comment section. Either way, it's a lot of adjustability to make sure that we fine tune it exactly how you want it. The KWs, of course, made in Germany, as I mentioned earlier. And if you peek through the wheels, you can kind of see the purple and the yellow, which is their trademark colors. And speaking of the colors, let's give a second for that mirror polished gold finish with the gloss clear coat. So once again, 20 by 9s in the front, 20 by 11s in the rear. The car comes with 20 by 8.5, if I'm not mistaken, and 20 by 10.5. So we went wider on the wheels, wider on the tires. So going back to the wheel color, we have the mirror polished gold finish and then the polished outer lip, which of course has a gloss clear coat on it as well. So you never have to get down and dirty, get down on your knees and get Adams polish finishing and keep the outer lip repolished. It's gonna stay like that for essentially the whole ownership history of the wheels. Moving myself back just a little bit, I think the next step for this car is gonna be probably an aftermarket exhaust and also maybe a tune. The reason I say a tune is because this has the 4-banger turbocharged, I think it's a 2.0 liter base engine, which of course, if you have forced induction like the turbocharger, a tune can essentially extract at least 100 horsepower from it. So imagine this car, super lightweight, mid-engine, so it actually has better balance than a 911 with the rear engine, but with 400 horsepower out of a 2-liter, that would be absolutely amazing. I think the only auto manufacturers that are able to extract 400 horsepower out of a 2-liter engine, I think it's Mercedes-AMG with the, I think it's the A45 AMG and the CLA45 AMG, if I'm not mistaken. But I digress. This thing is an absolute weapon. I love the chalk exterior. I love the gold with polished silver combo. And of course, the KWs with the full adjustability. You do the ride height, compression, rebound, the whole 9, so it feels just as great as it looks. So once again, let's try and get this customer on board with the aftermarket exhaust, the tune, and then perhaps something else that I noticed, clear markers, and maybe we add some black elements. Probably I'll look into the portfolio of different manufacturers like Moshammer and Tech Art and see if they'll have anything for the front bumper to make it a little bit more aggressive with some black accents, which would better match the side window trim in black and also the side air intake in black. So I think that would be pretty cool. I'll see how the customer feels about that. Going back to the overall channel, first Cayman on the channel. I've done a bunch of 911s, different variations, GT3 RS, turbo, so on and so forth. And it seems like I'm going down the entire list of Porsches. So if you have a Cayman, or not a Cayman, but if you have a Cayenne, a Macan, a Panamera, give me a holler. I want you on the channel, especially if you're considering the trio of mods that I like to do, which are wheels, suspension, exhaust, so on and so forth. That way I can include you on the channel as well and give your car a proper showcase. If you enjoy the channel, make sure you like, subscribe, share, hit the bell icon so that whenever I upload a video, you guys will get the notification for it. And I would love for you guys to visit the website, nussbaumautohaus.com. I appreciate all the positive and negative comments. As I always tell you guys, it's very fun to go back and forth with you guys on the YouTube comments. So be sure to be on the lookout for this on my Instagram channel, on my website. Let me know what you think. And until next time, be safe. Take care of yourselves.